The hospital called at 3:18 p.m. No parent forgets that kind of call. Your child has been injured. Please come immediately. My 9-year-old son, Ethan, was supposed to be spending the afternoon at my sister's house. Just a few hours after school. I had a late meeting downtown and she offered to help. By the time I reached the ER, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely sign the clipboard. He was conscious. That was the first thing the nurse told me. Conscious, but disoriented. They said he fell down the stairs. Fell. I walked into the treatment room and saw him lying there, small against the white sheets, a bruise forming along his temple. His left wrist was in a temporary splint. There were faint red marks near his shoulder that did not look like stair impact. He looked at me and tried to smile. Mom, I slipped. My sister arrived minutes later. Breathless. Wide-eyed. Performing panic perfectly. She said the boys were playing upstairs. She said Ethan must have tripped near the landing. She said it happened so fast she could not stop it. Accident. That word was repeated over and over again. The doctor said he had a mild concussion and a fractured wrist. They would monitor him overnight. I asked my sister where she was when it happened. She said she was in the kitchen. I asked if anyone else saw it. She hesitated. Her son was upstairs. He did not see clearly. Did not see clearly. That phrasing lingered. Later that night, when Ethan finally fell asleep in the hospital bed, I sat beside him and replayed the details in my mind. The angle of the bruises. The way he avoided eye contact when I asked what happened. He is not a clumsy child. He is careful. Observant. Cautious on stairs. The next morning, something small shifted everything. While helping him change into clean clothes, I noticed faint finger-shaped marks along the back of his arm. Not from a fall. From a grip. I asked him gently if someone pushed him. He went quiet. Too quiet. He said he did not want to get anyone in trouble. That was when my stomach dropped. My sister called it an accident. But something about this did not feel accidental. And if it was not an accident, then someone in that house knew exactly what happened. What I did not know yet was that her front hallway had a camera mounted above the coat rack. And cameras do not lie. I did not confront my sister right away. Panic makes people defensive. Defensive people erase evidence. Instead, I drove to her house the next afternoon with a calm face and a steady voice. I told her Ethan was resting and I wanted to pick up his backpack and homework folder. She let me in without hesitation. That confidence unsettled me. The house looked the same as always. Polished hardwood floors. Framed family photos lining the staircase. The staircase. I stood at the bottom of it and looked up. 12 wooden steps. A landing. A sharp turn. If a child slipped, the injuries would match the angles. Ethan's bruises did not. My eyes drifted toward the hallway ceiling. There it was. A small black dome above the coat rack. I kept my tone casual and asked when she installed cameras. She said after a break-in scare last winter. Said it made her feel safer. Safer. I asked if the cameras recorded. She hesitated just long enough. Yes, they recorded. Cloud storage, she added quickly. Automatic overwrite every 30 days. It had been 2 days since the fall. Plenty of time. I asked if I could see the footage from that afternoon. Just to understand how it happened. To ease my mind. Her expression shifted. Not dramatically. Just enough. She said she had already checked. Said the angle did not capture the stairs directly. Said there was nothing useful. Nothing useful. That answer did not satisfy me. If there was nothing useful, why check at all? I nodded and changed the subject. Picked up Ethan's backpack. Hugged her goodbye. But before leaving, I noticed something else. The small blue light on the camera was off. Most systems blink when recording. This one was dark. On my drive home, I called a friend who works in home security installation. I described the brand and model I remembered from the hallway base unit. He told me something simple. Those cameras store local backup on a micro SD card unless manually disabled. Local backup. Which means even if cloud footage is deleted, the internal card may still have it. My sister had said nothing about that. That night, as Ethan slept beside me on the couch, I replayed her reaction in my mind. The hesitation. The controlled tone. The quick explanation about angles. People tell the truth quickly. They craft lies slowly. If there was footage, it would show exactly what happened on those stairs. And if she had already tried to hide it, that meant she knew what it contained. The next morning, I decided I was done waiting. I was going back. And this time, I was not asking. I went back the next day with a purpose. Not as a sister. As a mother. My pulse stayed steady, but inside, something colder had taken over. Ethan was still sleeping when I left, a faint bruise shadowing his cheek. Every time I looked at it, the word accident felt like an insult. My sister opened the door with a tight smile. She looked tired. Or nervous. I told her I needed closure. Needed to see the footage myself. For Ethan's peace of mind. For mine. She stepped aside, but her body was rigid. We stood in the hallway beneath the camera. She opened the app on her phone and scrolled through clips. Her fingers moved too quickly. She said the system glitches sometimes. Said it skips random minutes. Then she stopped scrolling. The clip from 3:12 p.m. was missing. There was footage from 3:08. Then 3:26. Nothing in between. 16 minutes gone. That was the exact window when Ethan fell. She blamed Wi-Fi interruption. Storm interference. Automatic overwrite. But there had been no storm that day. Clear skies across the county. I asked calmly if the camera stored local backup. Her face went still. She said she did not know. I walked to the small base unit near the living room shelf. The kind with a tiny slot on the side. She moved faster than I expected and stepped between me and the device. Said it was sensitive equipment. Sensitive. The word echoed in my head. Sensitive to what? I reminded her that my son left her house in an ambulance. That I deserved transparency. That if this truly was an accident, the footage would prove it and end the tension. Her jaw tightened. She said I was overreacting. That phrase lit something inside me. Overreacting. My 9-year-old had a fractured wrist and grip marks on his arm. I reached around her and pulled the base unit from the shelf. She grabbed my wrist. Not hard enough to hurt. Hard enough to reveal fear. That was when I knew. People who have nothing to hide do not panic over memory cards. I removed the tiny SD card and slipped it into my purse before she could stop me. She threatened to call the police. I told her to go ahead. Because if the footage showed what she claimed, I would personally apologize. And if it did not, then this would no longer be a family matter. That night, I drove to my friend's office with the card in my hand. He inserted it into his computer. The screen flickered. The timestamp read 3:11 p.m. And then the video began to play. What I saw in the first 5 seconds made my blood run cold. The footage was clear. Too clear. The camera did not face the staircase directly, but it captured the hallway and the base of the stairs. Enough to see movement. Enough to see truth. At 3:12 p.m., Ethan walked into frame. He looked calm. Backpack still on his shoulders. He paused near the first step. My nephew followed behind him. There was no running. No roughhousing. No chaos. Just silence. Ethan placed his hand on the railing and began climbing. 3 steps up, my nephew reached forward. Not to grab the rail. To grab Ethan's arm. The grip was firm. Intentional. Ethan turned his head slightly confused. Then it happened. A shove. Not playful. Not accidental. A deliberate two-handed push to the back of my son's shoulder. Ethan's body jerked forward. His foot missed the next step. He twisted midair, trying to catch the railing. He did not slip. He was sent. He tumbled out of frame. The sound came half a second later. A sickening thud followed by another impact. My nephew froze at the top of the stairs. Then he looked straight toward the hallway. Toward the kitchen. Toward someone watching. And that was when the second truth revealed itself. My sister stepped into view. She had been standing at the corner of the hallway the entire time. Not in the kitchen. Not unaware. She had a clear line of sight. She saw the push. She did not move. She did not shout. She did not try to stop it. She waited. 3 full seconds passed before she rushed forward, performing shock for the empty hallway. My friend paused the footage. The office felt airless. This was not an accident. This was negligence at best, complicity at worst. I replayed the moment again. Slower this time. The shove, the stillness, the hesitation, and something else. Right before my sister stepped into frame, she glanced up at the camera. She knew it recorded. She knew exactly what it had captured, which explained the missing cloud clip, which explained the panic when I touched the base unit. She had tried to erase the evidence, not because she feared blame for a fall, because she knew it was not a fall. My hands felt steady as I asked my friend to save a copy. Then another. Backup drives. Cloud upload. Multiple locations. No one would make this disappear. As I drove home, anger settled into something sharper. Calculated. This was not just about a broken wrist. This was about trust shattered on hardwood stairs. And about a sister who chose protection of her own child over truth. When I walked into my living room, Ethan looked up from the couch. He asked if I found out what happened. I knelt beside him. I told him yes. And I promised him something else. No one pushes my child and calls it an accident. No one. I did not send the video. I did not call her. I waited. Silence makes guilt louder. 2 days passed. My sister texted casually, asking how Ethan was healing. Her tone was light, almost cheerful, as if a fractured wrist were a minor inconvenience. I replied that he was recovering. Nothing more. Meanwhile, I scheduled a meeting with an attorney. Not dramatic. Not emotional. Strategic. The footage was clear evidence of assault. Even if it was committed by a minor, there were consequences. Civil liability. Medical costs. Emotional damage. And more importantly, attempted destruction of evidence. When I mentioned the deletion of the cloud clip, the attorney's eyebrows lifted slightly. That part, he said, changes everything. I left his office with options. And a plan. That evening, I invited my sister over. She hesitated but agreed. When she arrived, she brought a pie. Peach. Store-bought. A peace offering disguised as dessert. She sat at my kitchen table and spoke about family unity. About how kids fight. About how accidents happen. I let her talk. Then I turned my laptop toward her. Pressed play. The room went silent except for the sound of her son's shoes on hardwood in the video. She watched the push. She watched herself standing in the hallway. She watched the hesitation. Her face drained of color. She tried to speak, but no explanation came. I paused the video at the exact frame where she looked at the camera. Asked her calmly why the 312 clip was missing from cloud storage. She said nothing. Her silence was louder than any denial. Then she shifted tactics. She said he is just a child. She said I was overreacting again. That word almost made me laugh. Overreacting would have been yelling. Overreacting would have been slapping the laptop shut and throwing her out. Instead, I told her about the attorney. About the civil claim. About how deleting footage could be seen as tampering. Her hands began to tremble. For the first time, fear replaced arrogance. She asked what I wanted. That question revealed everything. Not what happened. Not how Ethan felt. What I wanted. I told her I wanted accountability. Medical bills paid in full. A written admission of what happened. Mandatory counseling for her son. And one more thing. She would tell our parents the truth herself. Not a polished version. Not a softened one. The full story. If she refused, the video would move beyond family. To court. To authorities. To places where control slips fast. She stared at the screen again. At the shove. At the 3 seconds she chose silence. And in that moment, I saw it. The realization that the narrative she crafted had collapsed. But something in her eyes told me she was not done fighting. And I began to wonder. If she felt cornered, what would she try next? Cornered people do not surrender quietly. They look for leverage. The morning after our confrontation, my phone exploded with messages from relatives. Aunts. Cousins. Even my father. The story had already shifted. According to my sister, I had stormed into her house, stolen private property, and threatened to ruin her son's future over a playground scuffle. Playground scuffle. The phrase spread fast. She painted herself as a mother protecting her child from an unstable sibling seeking money. I almost admired the speed. But lies move quickly at first. Truth moves steadily. I did not respond emotionally. Instead, I sent a single message in the family group chat. I wrote that I had security footage of the incident and would be happy to share it with anyone who wanted clarity. Silence followed. Then my father called. His voice carried doubt. Not accusation, but uncertainty. He asked if things were truly that serious. I told him to come over. That evening, my parents sat on my couch while Ethan rested upstairs. I played the video without commentary. No dramatic buildup. Just facts. The shove. The fall. The 3 seconds. My mother covered her mouth. My father leaned forward, eyes locked on the screen. When it ended, neither spoke immediately. The illusion of accident dissolved in front of them. But the real twist came minutes later. My sister began sending messages again, this time privately to extended relatives. She claimed the footage was edited, manipulated, taken out of context. She accused me of fabricating evidence to extort her. That accusation changed the temperature entirely. Now it was not just about Ethan. It was about credibility, reputation. If she convinced enough people that the video was altered, the damage would shift toward me. So I escalated. I sent the original file metadata to my attorney. Timestamp verification. Device serial numbers. No edits. No cuts. Then I did something she did not expect. I filed a formal preservation notice documenting attempted deletion of cloud footage, which meant if she tried to wipe remaining data, it would be recorded as intentional destruction of evidence. Within hours, her tone changed. She called me repeatedly. I let it ring. Then a text came through. She wanted to talk calmly, wanted to find a solution. But this was no longer a quiet family disagreement. She had tried to rewrite reality. And once someone tries to destroy your credibility, you stop negotiating casually. That night, I tucked Ethan into bed. He asked if he would still see his cousin again. I told him maybe someday, when it is safe. Because what shook me most was not the shove. It was the look on my sister's face when she saw the footage. It was not regret. It was calculation. And I knew this was not over yet. 3 days later, I was served. Notified of a complaint filed against me for theft of property and defamation. She moved faster than I expected. The papers accused me of illegally removing her security equipment and spreading false accusations that harmed her family's reputation. It was bold, almost reckless. But it told me something important. She was desperate. I forwarded everything to my attorney. He did not look surprised. In fact, he almost smiled. He said this changes leverage. Because filing a false claim while knowing the footage exists could expose her to serious consequences. Especially if discovery forced the original system logs into court. System logs she likely forgot about. Every camera records more than video. It records access history, deletions, login attempts. Digital footprints do not disappear just because someone hopes they will. Meanwhile, the family divide deepened. Some relatives stood quietly on my side after seeing the video. Others avoided choosing. My parents remained shaken but supportive. My father even admitted he confronted my sister privately. She insisted the push was accidental horseplay. Horseplay. That word again minimized everything. Then something unexpected happened. My nephew's school counselor contacted me. Not directly about the case, but about behavioral concerns. Apparently, he had been involved in 2 prior incidents pushing other children on staircases. Reported. Documented. My sister had dismissed those as misunderstandings. A pattern. That word echoed in my mind. This was no isolated mistake. And my sister knew. Which explained the immediate deletion attempt. Which explained the counter-lawsuit. She was not protecting one accident. She was protecting a history. My attorney prepared our response. We countersued for medical costs, emotional distress, and attempted evidence tampering. He also subpoenaed the camera company for back-end access logs. When my sister received notice of that subpoena, she finally called again. Her voice sounded different. Less confident. More brittle. She asked if this really needed to go to court. I told her she made that choice when she filed against me. There was a long pause on the line. Then she said something that chilled me. She said families forgive. As if forgiveness replaces accountability. As if pushing a child downstairs becomes harmless when blood ties are involved. I ended the call calmly. Because this was no longer emotional. It was strategic. Court would mean testimony. It would mean public record. It would mean her son's pattern exposed. And I realized something powerful. She was not afraid of me. She was afraid of documentation. And once legal discovery begins, documentation tells its own story. The hearing date was set. For weeks away. For weeks for truth to surface. Or for her to make one final move. I just did not know which she would choose. The courtroom felt colder than I expected. Not dramatic. Not chaotic. Just controlled. My sister avoided eye contact as we took our seats. Her confidence from weeks earlier had thinned into something tight and brittle. Her attorney shuffled papers that suddenly looked heavier than they had before. Discovery had not been kind to her. The camera company complied with the subpoena. The back-end logs showed the cloud clip from 3:12 p.m. was manually accessed and deleted 27 minutes after the fall. The account used was hers. The login came from her phone. There were no glitches. No Wi-Fi interruptions. Just a deliberate removal. When that evidence was presented, the room shifted. Then came the school reports. Documented behavioral incidents involving pushing. 2 prior warnings. Signed acknowledgement from my sister. A pattern no longer theoretical. Her attorney tried to frame it as children learning boundaries. Normal growth mistakes. But patterns carry weight in courtrooms. Then the video played. Again. The shove looked even worse on the large courtroom screen. Clear. Intentional. My sister watching. Waiting. The judge leaned back slightly, eyes narrowing at the timestamp showing the deletion shortly after. When testimony began, my sister attempted composure. She claimed panic. Claimed fear of overreaction. Claimed she wanted to protect both children from escalation. But under questioning, contradictions surfaced. First, she said she did not see the push clearly. Then she admitted she saw contact but believed it was playful. Those two statements do not coexist. Her voice faltered. Mine did not. I described Ethan's injuries. The grip marks. The fear in his eyes when he said he did not want to get anyone in trouble. I explained the silence that followed the shove in the footage. The 3 seconds that changed everything. Then the judge delivered his ruling. Medical expenses awarded in full. Additional damages for emotional distress. Her defamation claim dismissed entirely. And most significant, a formal note in the record regarding attempted evidence tampering. No criminal charges were filed that day, but the warning was unmistakable. Actions like that, the judge stated, undermine the integrity of the court. When it ended, my sister stood frozen. The narrative she crafted had collapsed in public record. Family whispers no longer mattered. Documentation did. Outside the courthouse, she approached me quietly. Not angry. Not defensive. Small. She said she never thought it would go this far. I looked at her and realized something simple. It only went this far because she pushed. First on the stairs. Then against the truth. Ethan's wrist healed within weeks. But something else healed too. My certainty. No one gets to hurt my child and rewrite reality. Not with cameras watching. Not with courts listening. Not even if they share my blood. Justice does not shout. It records. And it waits. Tell me in the comment that which part hit you the most. If you like this story, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more interesting revenge stories. See you in the next one.